The galaxy watched. Across 47 star systems, on 300 billion screens, the signal transmitted in perfect clarity. High Executor Zareth had made certain of that. He wanted every species, the Verati, the Silani, the gaseous Mun collective, the crystal-brained Dithori, to witness this moment. He wanted humanity to see it most of all. The child's name was Jo. She was 9 years old. Brown eyes. A missing front tooth she had lost only 6 days before her colony ship, the Meridian Dawn, was seized by regime patrol cruisers near the Cygnus border. Her mother had promised her the tooth fairy tradition would still find her in space. Children believed such things. Jo stood on the broadcast platform of Zareth's flagship, the Sovereign Eternal, surrounded by regime soldiers in black and violet armor. She did not cry. She stared into the camera with those brown eyes, and she did not cry. That detail would later break hardened soldiers. Veterans of 30 campaigns. Admirals who had seen moons crack open. They all said the same thing afterward. She didn't cry. High Executor Zareth stepped into frame. He was tall by galactic standards, 7 feet of silver-scaled authority, his 4 ceremonial crests fanned wide to signal dominance. He had crushed rebellions. He had glassed agricultural worlds. He had rewritten treaties with the casual arrogance of a species that had ruled the galactic regime for 600 years. He looked at the camera. He smiled. To the humans of the outer colonies, Zareth said, his translator broadcasting in flawless English, Mandarin, Spanish, Arabic, and 40 other human languages simultaneously, your expansion ends today. This child is a symbol. Her death is a message. Withdraw your colonies beyond the Cygnus line, surrender your fleet codes, and submit to regime authority, or we will find more symbols. He raised one clawed hand. The timestamp on the broadcast read, 14 hours 7 minutes and 3 seconds Galactic Standard Time. Part 1, the room where the signal was received. Commander Darian Voss was not a man who shouted. He was 53 years old, gray at the temples, with hands that had held dying crew members on 4 separate ships and had never once shaken. His officers called him the Wall, not because he was cold, but because nothing moved him. Nothing knocked him sideways. He processed, calculated, and acted. He was in the tactical center of the UHF Prometheus when the broadcast came through. He watched the whole thing. Every second. When it ended, the room was silent. 47 officers, techs, and analysts stood frozen. Someone was crying quietly in the back. Navigator Me New York had both hands pressed flat on her console, knuckles white, staring at a screen that had gone dark. Comms Officer Highwood turned to look at Voss. The young man's face was pale as bone. Commander. Timestamp the broadcast, Voss said. His voice was completely level. Log it at 14:07 Gulf Standard Time. He paused. Begin emergency fleet recall. All vessels within 7 light hours, full burn. Authorization Voss Omega 9. Highwa blinked. Sir, that's a war authorization. I'm aware of what it is. Voss turned from the screen. His eyes were dry. They were the most terrifying eyes in that room. Do it. Part 2, 27 minutes. 14:07 Gulf Standard Time, broadcast ends. Child's fate confirmed by regime transmission. 14:09 Gulf Standard Time, Voss issues fleet recall. 31 warships begin converging. 14:12 Gulf Standard Time, Navigator Me New York plots the Sovereign Eternal's position from broadcast background data. She uses star parallax, radiation signature cross-referencing, and a debris field visible in 3 frames. She is 26 years old and she does this in 4 minutes. Darian. She never used his rank when it mattered. I have them. He looked at the coordinates. He nodded once. 14:14 Gulf Standard Time, Voss broadcasts a single message to the regime flagship, unencrypted, on every open frequency. Every species in the galaxy could receive it. This is Commander Darian Voss, United Human Fleet. You have committed an act of war. You have committed an atrocity. I am giving you 60 seconds to return the child unharmed. After that, I am giving you nothing. On the regime flagship, High Executor Zareth received the message and laughed. He laughed for a long time. Humanity had 40 ships, aging colony defense cruisers, patrol vessels, 2 actual warships. The regime had thousands. He did not respond within 60 seconds. 14:16 Gulf Standard Time, Voss activates the Prometheus drive at 140% rated capacity. Engineers Dai and Hai will both shout warnings. Voss doesn't answer them. We'll tear the manifolds, Chief Engineer Yi says, running onto the bridge, wrench still in hand. I know, says Voss. Keep them together for 20 minutes. Yi stares at him. Then she turns around and runs back to engineering. Because she understands. They all understand now. 14:21 Gulf Standard Time, 6 more human vessels fall into formation behind the Prometheus. Then 9 more. Then 16. Ships that should have taken hours to arrive are arriving in minutes, pushing drives past every safety threshold. Human engineers across the fleet are doing what human engineers have always done in crisis. They are refusing to accept the limits of their machines. 14:27 Gulf Standard Time, the human fleet drops out of FTL at point-blank range around the Sovereign Eternal. 31 ships. Every single one running on drives that should have been dead 15 minutes ago. Part 3, What happened next? The regime tactical officers aboard the Sovereign Eternal later testified, in the war crimes proceedings that followed, that their targeting systems had registered the human fleet's arrival, but their commanders had dismissed the initial alert. 31 ships against a flagship escorted by 200 regime vessels. Suicide, they thought. They had never fought humans on this particular kind of day. Voss did not engage the escort fleet. He did not fire on the carrier vessels. He did not, as the regime expected, broadcast demands or ultimatums or negotiate. He fired directly at the Sovereign Eternal's broadcast tower. The first salvo took out their communications. The second took out their external sensors. The third opened a breach in the docking bay that, by extraordinary coincidence, or extraordinary navigation by me New York, who had been studying the ship's schematics for 11 minutes, opened precisely at the section where regime holding cells were registered by energy signature. A boarding pod hit the gap at 14:29 Gulf Standard Time. It contained 12 humans. 12 humans in mag armor, with weapons, and the specific kind of silence that descends on people who are done with options. High Executor Zareth was still on the bridge when his security feed showed those 12 figures moving through his ship's corridors. He watched them engage 40 regime soldiers. He watched his soldiers lose. Not because humans were stronger, they weren't, Virati were physically superior to humans in most metrics, but because those 12 people were not operating on calculation anymore. They were operating on something the regime's tactical databases had no category for. It took 9 minutes to reach the holding deck. Joe was found unharmed at 14:34 Gulf Standard Time, still not crying, holding the collar of a regime soldier's uniform that she had pulled off during what she later described as a fight I started. She was 9 years old. Epilogue, 14:34 Gulf Standard Time. Zareth was apprehended at 14:41 Gulf Standard Time. He demanded to speak with human leadership. He demanded to negotiate. He cited regime law, galactic precedent, political consequence. Commander Darian Voss entered the bridge of the Sovereign Eternal at 14:43 Gulf Standard Time. He looked at Zareth for a long moment. The child's name is Joe, Voss said. She lost a tooth 6 days ago. Her mother promised her the tooth fairy would still come. Zareth opened his mouth. The tooth fairy will be coming, Voss said quietly. You won't. The trial lasted 4 months. Zareth was convicted on 47 counts under the newly ratified Cygnus Accords, which humanity had drafted, submitted, and had ratified by 19 galactic species within 6 days of the broadcast. Because humans, it turned out, were not only terrifying in war. They were terrifying in diplomacy too, when they were angry enough and organized enough and had a 9-year-old girl as their reason. Jo testified once, briefly. She was asked how she felt during the ordeal. She thought about it for a moment. Mad, she said. But also I knew somebody was coming. She was right. They always came. In the Galactic historical record, the event is listed under 2 designations. Official Regime Archives, the Cygnus Incident. Human Archives, the 27 Minutes. Historians note that no human archive uses the word incident.